at hand. And we are going to do a soft practice, a meditation practice. A little preparing for it. Yeah, I'm used to improvise my classes, so I don't know. I kind of thought of following a plan. It feels weird. Anyway, let's start. Rest your hands on your knees and, like me, maybe find yourself a blanket or a cushion to sit on. Maybe some blocks you want to have at hand. If you have issues with your knees, you can have a cushion to put under. And if this position is uncomfortable, you can always sit on a chair or you can sit on a sofa. Oh, sofas. Everything is unfurnished, so this is my sofa right now. I'm a proper yogi. Okay, let's relax the head forward. Stay for a little bit. Try to maintain your spine straight, your upper body straight, and your shoulders open. And then as you drop the head, I had a class today. I have stopped suggesting the drop of the head from the back. Now instead what I do, I put my hand under their forehead. And then when the person feels that you can drop the head on something, it gives in. So maybe it is helpful to discover those last layers of holding that we carry in the neck to feel like, you drop your head on somebody's hand. And then we take the head towards the left shoulder. And if you feel this happening, you start leaning towards the side. This shoulder starts to come up higher. Try to straighten up so you have a straight line all the way to the sternum, your collarbones on a T, and then it's just the head falling to that side. If you want to feel a little extra, take the opposite hand and walk it away on the floor, away from you. Or even another way, maybe easier to hold. You take with the left hand your right elbow, and then you ground your right shoulder, and you let the head fall to the left. The breath responds easy. On the first stages of a session, of a yoga practice, don't create big changes, almost natural breath. And then we go through center, we straighten up again, and we let the head fall to the right. Once again, the same idea. I never have a mirror, now I have the computer screen. But if you feel falling to the right with the whole body, now we want to isolate the neck. So straight to here, collarbones in a T, shoulders at the same height up from the floor, and then fall with the head to the right. If you want to ground this left shoulder further down, there you go. Right hand behind. relax the jaw. From the basic position with the head looking forward, you have a little bit of variety, or you have choices, so to speak. You can let the head fall a little, or you could track. You could look up a little, and then the stretch will isolate different lines in your neck and the reach of the shoulder. I don't think the actual line is so important, but you're giving yourself to the practice, really sitting with it calmly. Come back to center, come back to center, straighten up, put your hands on your knees, or it could be on the floor as well, and then fall a little back. And then as if you were pulling yourself from your hands, roll forward. Do that a couple of times. A couple of times. A bunch of times. I give you a profile. Now, what I want is not necessarily how deep you go into the falling back or how tall you go. I don't think counting on the extremes or taking in consideration the extremes is so important. But the way you move inside from beginning to end, the quality of the movement. So you think slowly, and then you start shifting weight to the front of the sit bones, and then you straighten up, you feel your spine uncoiling, and then from the top position, you start falling from the navel. We're trying to isolate more of the lower back, as much of the lower back as possible. Then when we come here, we're going to push with the right shoulder forward. First time that we come tall now, and then we're going to come to center and move the right shoulder backwards. And then the right shoulder will go forward and then backwards. I give you a frontal view for the other shoulder. So we take the left shoulder forward and then backwards. And forward and backwards. Now we're going to add both shoulders. So when the left one goes forward, we bring the right one backwards and change. Right one forward, left one backwards. Almost as if you were walking. You see my legs are moving, I'm pushing into my feet. It's like I'm walking. Actually, let's take the arms forward and then backwards. Yeah, like if you were running. And forward and backwards. And feel how the movement of the shoulders, I think my main focus now is in my upper spine, how as I pull the arm back, my shoulder blades goes against my upper spine and then releases as I go forward. And then we come to center and we open the arms. When we open the arms, from the wrists, we're going to turn the hands down. And then that rotation, we're going to continue until the whole shoulder is rotated forward. And then from here, in reverse order, we start opening from the shoulder, then the elbows, and at the end we're going to rotate a little bit on the wrists as if we were trying to point our palms backwards. And then again from the hands, and then the elbows, and then the shoulders, and my upper back starts to round. If you want, you can even look down at this point. And then from the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists at the end, and then the arms, hair off. The arms go forward, yeah? Now we cross them. Maybe try to remember. We cross left one over right. And then when we come to center, we open as if it was a big wing flap. And then we change. Right arm over left. Round. Even look down in the moment where your spine is round, and then we open all the way. And then round, fall backwards. And then open all the way. Every time I fall back, I really go into a very round back. Try to cover all the sections, not just the easy one, maybe between the shoulder blades, but the whole back. And then we open again. Left hand goes down, right arm goes overhead towards the left. Just marking, moving easy. We come up, like this kind of floaty quality to the movement. And then bounce again. Move towards the left and fall. When you fall, you lead the movement and you see there is no resistance, no resistance. At this point, the tissues of your body start to hold on you a little tighter. At the end, you give a little extra energy to the arm and up again to the other side. All the way. Feel the resistance increasing. When it starts to happen, engage a little bit. Maybe you take an extra breath or two. And release. We go through the front. I have to move this. We go through the front. So you're leading with your belly rather than with your head, with your belly. You're moving your belly in between your legs through the front. Left hand goes down, right arm goes up. And then get a little impulse from the arm. You go forward, careful with the mic, with the glass. And left. Again. Forward. You can go for an extreme movement where you go very much to the ground, where you go very deep on your hips, but I don't think it's necessary. Track. And then we go to the left. Look here, one more time. You can dress this, you can make it really pretty and go a little bit faster and float a little more. And I have obstacles. You can be a little artistic about it. But since we're moving towards a meditation practice, we move softly. Then we go to a twist. Tora twist. I take the right hand on the outside of the left leg and the left hand behind me. And then I'm gonna apply a bit of energy to both. I'm gonna straighten up by pulling from the right arm and pushing into the left, the fingertips. Let's keep it still. When you're moving and then you go to stillness, don't divide it into two categories. You're moving, you're focusing, as I said before, on the quality of the movement. If it needs precision, also the precision of the movement. Then your body comes to a stop. But movement continues through the breathing. So you can project the notion of a movement practice into the movement of your diaphragm. And then release. We go to the other side. I guess, especially for those of you who practice flow styles of yoga, Vinyasa, Ashtanga, even Bikram, yeah, all the flow side of things. I do too sometimes. If you like that approach, but it feels that it separates you from more still practices, think that even your count can be fit, but beyond the count, think of the actual movement that your breath is creating. So the minute you go from a movement section of the practice to a still section of the practice, the continuity of awareness on movement does not need to be broken. And then we release. We bring the hands backwards with the fingers pointing forward. You are not pretty enough to be in frame. There, out of frame. We lean into the hands. We keep the fingers pointing forward. And then we push into the arms. And now, let's do it dynamically. So first bend your elbows and see how they want to separate to the sides. When your elbows separate to the sides, your shoulders start to turn in. So we're going to try to keep the arms parallel and the hands engage on the floor. And then I'm going to push, give tension to my elbows, and then I'm going to bend and let the elbows bend very slowly. This is heavy, eh? It doesn't fit on a restorative practice. But think of when you do something very slowly, or when you keep of a position for a long time, you're setting a physical memory. The effort that you apply is invested in creating a memory in your body. So you kind of have to justify which memory you want to remember. So this one is one that I think is agreeable. Shoulders open, chest open, breath free. Once we get to the top, now we're going to increase the control on the breath, and we're going to make the breath slower, a little more powerful, also a little higher to the chest. See if I shut up. Head backwards can be a choice. And straighten up. And we surrender to my Guru, the camera. I bend forward and I pay my respects. You do the same to your Guru computer, not me. And release your elbows, release. Not all of you are going to end up in that position. Some of you will be really folded all the way down to the floor. Some of you may be holding weight on the elbows or even on the hands. That's okay. That's okay because it has to be okay, right? Use your breath. Use your breath. And then allow that the breath moves you a little bit to the left. We started with a little bit of movement, let's maintain it. To the right. Maybe you can reach with your hands a bit. They don't show in the frame, I come a bit further back. Like if you were in down dog and push. Remember? Keep that memory of externally rotated shoulders. And sink hip to one hip, sink weight to one hip, to the other one. Play also with asymmetric patterns of movement, moving very slowly. I was telling somebody this morning, I think the body likes, in terms of movement, rather than lines, think of curves. So try to think of movements in terms of rounds, rather than going back and then bouncing back forth. And then we roll over the legs and we fall to a child's pose. And the same, maybe a little bit of floating in the position, a little bit of shifting from side to side. Clarity not only in the perception, but also in the creation of a movement when it's very slow, very small. I think we miss it. I think sometimes in yoga we go very quickly to the extremes, big movements, big stretches. But these kind of simple movements, even if you're flexible and in very good shape, there's a lot of information about how your joints rotate in the beginning of the movement. Once there is let's say, an asymmetry, the initiation of the movement comes on one side different than the other one. When that movement has become big, you're seeing the end of the asymmetry. When you move very slowly, like now just shifting weight from hip to hip, very simple movement. Yeah, I don't know, not everybody, but in my case, I feel the left and the right different. I feel like little adjustments of the pelvis that I can do for the feeling to be more harmonious. And then we're going to take this same idea to a down dog. Before I go to down dog, I look at my hands, I see them committing to the floor. I keep my knees very bent, very relaxed. Have a look at my elbows, see again also that they are committed to the work they have at hand. And then with shoulders open, I rest my head. So you see, never have a mirror. I'm looking for a straight back, yes, and a heavy head. Now, if you have space, we alternate and we do a little bit of this fake down dog walking that we do, but very round in the movement, very easy in the movement. Sometimes I say as if you were moving in water. And then we're going to take the right foot forward and the left heel on the floor. We're going to come into this position. This knee pointing in the same direction as the toes. And then I'm going to do, I don't know if you're going to like me much now, we're going to do what we did before with our elbows. So we're going to start maybe almost straight leg, almost. Maybe you don't get all the way to straight. Look a little bit at the knee, and then it's going to move in the direction of the toes. And you're going to control the movement down without losing the whole sole of the foot behind you. When you feel your knee starts to turn in and twist your hip, then we're going to push into the foot and come back up. I know it's a little heavy. Bend. When you feel resistance, easy, maybe you can go a little more. And then push. One more time. Fall again. And sure, here we could go to open arms and a warrior, but I'm focusing, once again, if I do something very slowly, with a lot of effort, and I'm marking a clear memory for the body, I want to be precise. So, the leg pointing in the same direction, the knee pointing in the same direction as the toes, so there is no twist. We come up from here. Place the right foot in, and the left foot in the direction of the mat. Find a nice distance between feet, and then we push into the front foot. I have to go a little lower, otherwise I lose the top of my head. So, push. You see now I'm very wide, so controlling the movement of the knee is tricky. We go slowly, slowly. I push simultaneously on the back foot. Can I go deeper? I could, but here if I keep going down, it starts to turn. I don't know if it shows. push, come up, and again. And I push, and I bring the feet parallel, and I'm too wide. So I'm going to bring the feet a little closer to each other. Hands on the floor. Bend the right knee. Just showing you the top of my head. And then push into it. Bend the left knee. Keep tension on the straight leg, don't lose it. And then push into it. You see, we move very slowly, maintaining control of movement throughout. Bend on the right side. And the other foot doesn't lose the floor, really grab into the floor. And push. Bring maybe the feet a little closer to each other. Still in a triangle, but a little narrower. And then bend both knees. If when you bend the knees, you feel that you are too wide, then adapt. Adjust the position of the feet. And this one, because your legs can come out a bit, if your feet open, not too much, but a little bit, it might be more beneficial for your knees. See how that feels. Those of you who are very flexible on the hips, you can have parallel feet. And then when we reach the bottom of the hips, maybe not the bottom, you see, go through feeling, it comes to a point that you feel stronger. Before you feel completely overwhelmed, stop there, and then allow for a little bit of movement. We come back again, bouncing side to side to straight legs. And we give ourselves a little passive release of the spine upside down. If you want to adjust the position of the feet, go either closer or further. Doesn't matter so much. What I'm looking for now is having my spine upside down. Hands on the front of the mat and down dog again. Knees bent to begin with, straight back, engage arms, shoulders, elbows, wrists, hands. And then from here, if you can go to long legs. I like to keep my heels a little above the floor. A little bit, as if gives me the feeling of having space to grow. And then knees to the floor, back to child's pose, straighten up from here, put the hands behind you again, pointing forward like we did before. And then we push with the hips up, let the head fall back at the end. Exhale, release, and straighten up. And we do it again. If you want to be a bit more exuberant, you can come forward, round again, bring your hands back, come into a camel, and then come back again. Release, go forward, round the back, flap the wings in front of you, bring them behind you. Any movement that you do, if you're skilled at movement, and some people are, you can just make it prettier, more you, more, yeah. Unless you're going in a rhythm and you're keeping a count, and then you want to be Spartan about your movement. That can be another strategy. Now, we push into the posture and we keep it. And we breathe. more for you. Couple more breaths. And release. Go over your legs. And we go back to sitting. Once again, find your cushions. I lost my blanket. That was not pretty enough for the frame. Drink a little bit of water. Settle on the mat. Get your cushions. I often feel in meditation retreats, or even at home when I do my own meditation practice, sometimes sitting, but sometimes to do a little movement before, to prepare yourself for the posture, to warm up your shoulders, hips, release the spine a little. And as I was telling you before, I'm a great believer of the freedom within the practice rather than following a particular system, which you can if you like, if somebody or something convinces you so much. But for those of you who like variation, I feel like the best way is, I don't know, after years of practicing, start to trust your intuition and allow small drops of improvisation in your practice with positions, with movements. Sure, you'll make a few mistakes, but yeah, there are worse things than that. Okay. Hands on the knees. I miss my blanket, I'm going for it. There you are. It's actually from India. It knows how long it's been. So, comfortable sitting position. I like this big triangle more than the lotus postures. For sitting, for shorter periods, half a lotus can be very stable, maybe if you are very flexible or even a full lotus. But I think for most of us, for the long practice, when you start sitting for 20 minutes, half an hour, this one is very comfortable. I like to rest my hands simply on the thighs or on the knees, and I know some of you prefer here in the center. When I put them in the center, depending on your length of arms, torso, how high you're sitting, etc., sometimes it's really nice to this. Have a blanket, a little rolled up, and that creates a nice rest for your hands, so you feel completely heavy in the arms. Maybe I do it today. No. Is it pretty enough for the frame? Let's say no. Flying. Good. Straighten up. Shoulders open. Neck straight. Tiny silly smile in your lips. Hope I put it there. And relax your belly. In my case, when I practice, I tend to work with eyes closed. Once again, it's a matter of preference. I think it's easier. However, if you prefer eyes open, really find an empty space where nothing is distractive and kind of rest them half gaze in there. I'm definitely not gonna do that because that's the crazy look. When nobody's looking, it's very centering, but doesn't show well. Good. Start from the placement of the body. Let that be the first run through that you do to your meditation practice. The alignment of your spine, your shoulders, your hips, your neck. Think as a yogi. For now, rather than a meditator, if there is any difference. But think of a person that works with asana, alignment, yeah? And think of your posture. Then within that posture, try refine the amount of effort required to maintain it. Try to figure out how to maintain the same alignment, but as little effort as possible. Like if you're trying to hold a stick, yeah? And if you hold it from one end, and the stick is vertical, all the weight aligned through one line into your hand. For as long as you keep it in that balance, there is effort of concentration in maintaining the balance, but the muscular effort is minimal. Now you lose the concentration in the holding of the stick and it goes off center, and it's gonna maybe even break your wrist if it's a heavy stick. The effort increases very rapidly. So what happens when we have the head ahead of us the whole time, looking at the phone? Or the backpack on one shoulder the whole time? You lose the vertical, remember the stick, effort increases. And the back suffers or the hips suffer. So in the practice, the first thing is going to be align. Next, and simultaneously, these two first ones, maintain the alignment and release the effort required to keep it. It's continuous, kind of a recurrent subject that you take once and again. Then we go into the sense of motion in the body. That's a nice practice to do because it gathers attention very easily. Now, since the body is still, the only recognizable movement in a macroscopic level is going to be your breathing. You know the cat? My cat is a white wall and you put a red laser, she goes crazy, yeah? Chasing the movement, chasing the variation, chasing the contrast. In a still body, your breath is moving, creating contrast. Therefore, to hook your attention to that which is shifting becomes easier, helping you bypass the addiction to thought. It's very clever. Now when you hook to the movement of the breath, and hook, I don't mean cling. Your attention is still going to be porous. You're going to come, go away and come back. It's going to fluctuate. But around the breath, yeah? Even with this continuity around the breath. Track. Okay, which parts of your body move? Don't give names, but areas. Do you feel different areas of your body moving? If an area doesn't move, from your hips to your shoulders, stay a little bit. Observe the next breath and the next breath. Is it really not moving? of all this that is moving, from shoulders to hips. If you would pinpoint, where does the movement begin? It's a general movement, yeah, but it has a source. Where do you find the source? Your diaphragm. How is the movement of the diaphragm? Now, without you changing it too much. We've been stretching, we've been breathing, we've been doing positions, you practice yoga regularly, so somehow you've been changing the breath, making it a little deeper, a little slower. Now we come to the sitting practice and we are removing that control. We're trying to fall to natural breath, but that's not so clear. There's always a little bit of, when you look at something, you change it. So your bare awareness, even with the intention of not changing the breath, it is changing the breath. So can you see that? How the breath adapts when you listen? Can you feel the movement of the diaphragm? Can you feel the movement of the rest of the torso? So those would be tangible characteristics of the breath. The rhythm, the timing of the breath. Not so much as if you were counting seconds, but how does it come and go? How does the breath breathe? Does it feel that there is space from breath to breath? Do they come all packed and tight and rushed? The inhale itself, does it feel I'm not thinking longer or shorter, but from inhale to inhale, do they keep a certain pattern? Does the pattern fluctuate? Same with the exhales. So we have the alignment of the structure kept with the minimum energy possible. Energy which comes from the breathing, which is the clearest motion in the body that we can not only feel but also change, and creates a point of reference, and we're going to consider that point of reference our home during the meditation practice. So whatever else we do, when you get distracted, when you get lost, when you get, I don't know, maybe even a bit bored, just go to the breath. You feel bored and things are monotonous, feed it even more monotony. Soon you'll realize that there is nothing monotonous about the breath. Then, observing this posture, breath, movement, spending a few minutes on the cushion, something begins to happen. Part of it, people say, oh, I think so much. In a way, yes, but you were thinking so much before. You are not thinking more now. You are just aware of it. But that feeling, to be honest, it stops overwhelming you earlier than you might think. In a few weeks of practice, that would not be an issue. Not that the thoughts would not continue, but it's like weather. It's always going on. But you get more confident in bringing your attention elsewhere. Due to the sensitivity that arises when you are not interacting with the external environment and you keep that for a few minutes, everything kind of settles and you become more sensitive. Then you can start feeling not just the posture, but you can begin to feel the vibrance on the different parts of the body. What do I mean with the vibrance? You have a very rich nervous system with nerve endings everywhere, which are designed to send information and create movement and to receive information in the form of sensations, sensory feedback. During the meditation practice, since we are not moving, we are not speaking with our bodies, we can free our minds to listen. Which was the book? Eat, Pray, Love? Yeah, a few years ago. Was this character and defines meditation. We stop talking, we listen. It's to this day the best definition of meditation I've ever heard. When you listen to your body, if there was people watching this and you never practice meditation, I would probably guide you from head to feet, from feet to head, give it an order. If you start practicing regularly and this practice attracts you, do it that way for a while. Go in order until you create a certain relationship with all the different parts in your body, and it feels easier over time to feel your knee, to feel your ankle, to feel your shoulder. Most people do at this point. You've done something. You've done in class, meditation, every once in a while, a few times a week, off and on. But many people are in the situation that you've practiced. In that case, I would say at least test if you are able to move attention in an improvised way. The reason I say this, I think the more involved you feel with your practice, the less you feel that it is a method that you are applying, the more intimate it becomes and the more inclined you might feel for it to spread. That might be dependent on personalities, but I have seen my practice flower much more when I have allowed to listen to little shifts, little changes I want to do. From the body, we go back to the breathing. And this second time, let's see actually now if we can maintain attention on the breath. A little tighter. I told you before, it goes and it comes. Now a little tighter. You think two ways about this. The normal way, how many breaths you can count, yeah? Or without the number, you think of the breath as an ongoing event with parts, and you measure your concentration by how little discontinuity from breath to breath. Yeah, we tend to think that way. so thoughts don't cut off. Now, localize that observation to one breath, to this moment in the breath. Forget entirely about the fact that there are breaths before and after. Take this breath from beginning to end of the inhalation, from beginning to end of the exhalation, going through both the transitions without interruption. One breath. When this breath finishes, next one. From beginning of inhale to the end of the inhale, from beginning of exhale till the end of the exhale, whole breath cycle. Without interruption, pay attention to this one breath. Relax your lower back and straighten your legs. Maybe you want to give your knees a little massage or your ankles. Put your hands on the floor and we lie down in Savasana. You can remain. I sit up just to talk to you for a little bit. Yesterday, there was some forest fires close to where we live. And yesterday I went to have a look. A friend has a land there and he had a few constructions and they all got burned. But when I got there yesterday, they had done the cleaning already. So all you had is nature. It was an interesting fire to see because it was huge. But the wind was very strong. So somehow the fire went through the landscape, burning this but not that, burning some things to the ground, but then kind of half burn some others, and then you have green. I took some nice pictures. But anyway, you could see how nature takes such a thing. And I can't tell you what in particular was what gave me the feeling, yeah? You could see a completely destroyed ecosystem by a fire or a volcano or an earthquake. But the general feeling that nature gave was a lack of struggle. Some trees were up, some trees were burned. I could picture in 2 years the grass coming up. I don't have any more wisdom than that. It was an unconcluded thought. I was with my friend and we were talking about loss and about how to build a business again and all the emotional stuff that he's going through. But simultaneously walking around, I kept thinking, oh, it looks so beautiful. And I think the beauty was not the landscape, of course, before the fire was stunning, yeah? But I think it's that sense of surrender to something inevitable in a way where there is no clinging to the past. I wish that was wiser than that. Just unconcluded thoughts leaking into your savasana. So if you surrender in your body, just find what that physically means for you. What is to surrender a shoulder? What is to surrender a hip? What is to surrender your breath? What degree of trust you have in the process of life? Feed your body breath. Let those breaths sink heavy. Really, really sink on the exhales. Yeah. And I think I'm going to leave you here. Yeah. There will be more yoga next week. We might have to change schedule again because we have construction next door, so we're going to try to find a time where there is less noise. And yeah, you'll keep seeing us. And now hopefully that the airports are opening, maybe you can even touch us sometime in the rest of the year. Yeah, good. Can I do a commercial now? This is my friends from Sweden. They gave me this t-shirt. Naka Yoga Studio. Outside of Stockholm. Very nice people. Good. Okay, have a nice weekend. See you. Oh, I did a prayer. Good. We see you next week. That's very unlike me.